are recording. Welcome, Big 12 college football fans. I am Bryce Petty, sitting next to my good friend and esteemed colleague, Trevor Knight.
What is going on,
TK9.
14? Buddy, I am fired up today.
Why?
I am not going to cut to the chase. I am going to cut to the chase.
Okay, we are going to cut to the chase. Okay. I love it.
I am fired up. We've got a lot to talk about, my friend. I was a part of the greatest sporting event that I have ever been
Gotta love it.
to, that a lot of people have ever been to. Cotton Bowl mayhem, OU Texas, the rivalry. Boy, I know all you guys watched it this weekend. Unbelievable sporting event. And then I'm on cloud nine. My Aggies won later in the evening, knocked off the Tide, but man,
number one Tide.
Let's go, baby.
They haven't lost in like 700 days.
I haven't slept in 3 days.
I believe it.
My eyes are all jacked up, but I'm here, baby.
On top of all of that, we have a guest. We have a very, very special guest that I am so excited for. This is actually Trevor's guest, so thank you, Trevor.
Let me put it this way. You guys are going to want to stick around to listen to this guest. He'll be here in just a little while. He is one of the most prominent figures of all time in college football.
Wow. It's a big statement. I wonder who it is.
I'm not going to give any hints yet, but we'll get to it in a minute.
Speaking of Halloween candy.
Let's go.
Hey, let's get right into it. Okay, so we had probably one of the biggest games of maybe the decade. I know that's a strong statement. Maybe the decade. It was an incredible game at the showdown shootout.
So there's debate over that, right?
Okay.
It's the Red River shootout. It's the Red River rivalry. There's been a lot of hoopla around what it actually is. I call it the RRR because I think it's easy.
Triple R's.
I've got a speech impediment, and so Red River rivalry doesn't work well for me. I'm just kidding. I don't have a speech impediment. At least I don't. I hope not. But
it's hard when you drink as many beers as you do that quick. Well, let's get right into it. Okay, so we have OU. If you did not watch, you're crazy, one. But just a quick recap, 55-48. And, again, what could have been one of the greatest comebacks ever, led by a true freshman in a time and era right now, especially the last couple of weeks that we've been talking about, especially. Spencer Rattler gets benched. In comes Caleb Williams, and the rest is history. Just walk us through as a fan, being in that environment, that stadium, seeing, again, just kind of a lackluster. They scored. Texas scores on the first play of the game, which is incredible. It's just kind of like, oh, God, here we go. And then just kind of walk us through this first half and then into the second half.
Dude, you could write a book on my experience Saturday and what happened in the Cotton Bowl, right? Well, let's take a step back first before we even get into the stadium.
Sorry.
The Texas State Fair is going on.
Yep.
I paid $60 to pull up on a curb and park underneath a telephone pole right next to a gas station. Not a terrible parking spot, but $60. It was absolute mayhem in the parking situation. I did not get a parking pass. I was upset about that. So then you start wading through all the people. I got a couple tickets. I got a corn dog. Obviously, I'm at the fair on my way in.
Pickles?
I did get a pickle.
Nice.
Well, yep, we absolutely did the pickle.
Hashtag
pickle. And we end up kind of wading our way through. Well, it's an hour and a half prior to game time. We're like, hey, let's get in there. Let's watch some warm-ups, right? Oh, no.
Watch warm-ups?
Sea of people.
Already?
Me and my sweet wife, who is pregnant right now, only 16 weeks, so she can hang.
Shout out, Lacey.
We are walking through this, and I say walking. We're shoulder to shoulder, like not moving, right? We get to our seat 30 seconds before the opening kick.
Oh, wow.
It took us an hour and a half to get.
So it was meant to be. It was meant to be before the kickoff even started.
It was nuts.
Yeah.
So we get to our seat. We're all fired up. We're in. We're hooping. We're hollering. Kickoff happens. First play. Smoke screen for 75 yards. And of course, everybody in our section, stunned. Well, then we come out, go 3 and out, punt blocked right there on the 3 or 4 yard line. They score again. It's a minute and 53 seconds into the football game, and it is 14-0. Everybody in our section, myself included, is saying things like, we didn't come ready to play. One of these teams wants it more. One of them's hungry. One of them's not. Obviously talking about OU being the one that doesn't want it and Texas being the one that wants it. Then the game unfolds. Spencer Rattler makes some good plays. Casey Thompson, shout out to you, my friend. You have solidified yourself as the starting quarterback in Austin, Texas.
Yes, hell of a game.
I know it was a loss, but my friend, 5 touchdowns, and we'll get into his stats in a little bit. You are an absolute ball player, my friend. Very, very cool. So you start to have these ebbs and flows. You got a bad interception by Spencer Rattler. Then you've got a sack fumble by Spencer Rattler. Boom, inserts freshman Caleb Williams. Dude, I thought he got walked a little bit. I wouldn't have got walked, but he got hit.
Walked.
He got hit at the goal line. It looked like he had a little bit of a carriage behind him. I'm being very
real
is horrible
quick,
of me to
just
say.
so if you guys don't know, it before Spencer Rattler had the fumble and Caleb Williams came in, as what will be the first chapter in his book in Norman, a 4th and a foot at the 34-yard line, dude comes in and takes it 66. Okay, just real quick, just so everybody understands, the 30 minutes that he's talking about getting into the stands and watching the players warm up, that's 30 minutes before kickoff. So my man Caleb Williams is warming up for 30 minutes, got his bands, he's high-kneeing, he's doing whatever, trying to break a sweat, and then the dude sits and does nothing except for just walk up and down the sideline. So, I mean, hell of a run. Walked my ass.
We could talk about
so impressive.
Dude, we could talk about this longer. I was just making a little comment. He scored. I never would have got walked. I would have been. I could have been sitting in. That's my only negative comment on the kid all day.
Will you explain to the fans here what getting walked means?
Okay, so he scored, so he really didn't get walked, but he looked at the end like he was struggling a little bit and got hit from behind and had to dive in. Made it look cool. I would have.
What's your longest touchdown run you've ever had?
I think 65. So I haven't.
What was his?
I think it was like 63.
Fact check. It was 66.
Oh, okay, so you got me. And he did score, but I pulled away from those suckers. Anyways, that was my only negative comment on him all day. You found a way to make plays.
Yeah.
Marvin Mims, Dallas-based guy. Congratulations on your 2 touchdowns. It's a long time coming. You're a staple and just a solid piece to that puzzle there from a leadership standpoint.
He scored all year.
Yeah, and had 2 huge ones, right?
Crazy.
But you see this game start to go back and forth and back and forth. Casey Thompson and Bijan Robinson and that group just kept coming. At the end of the day, the tides turned. From the beginning, we were all saying, hey, OU didn't come ready to play. Texas is hungry. It completely flipped around when number 13 got in there. OU, you were more hungry. You beat Texas in the trenches on both sides of the ball, and that was the difference in the day. Shout out Kennedy Brooks for establishing the run game all day long. But I'll say this, too. You put 13 in there, and you have an opportunity for your quarterback to be a real threat in the run game. It opens everything up. It was a thing of beauty. Do I love it moving forward? Do I think he's going to go and be Heisman candidate and play perfect like that every week? No, we'll get to that. I think he'll still take his freshman lumps, but he is absolutely the man for the job. So, Bryce, let me ask you this. I was at the game. Obviously, we talked about that. Give me your total thoughts on everything that happened in the Cotton Bowl on Saturday. I mean, start to finish. Lay it all out there for me, man.
Yeah, well, this is super interesting, right? And it's specifically talking about the QB position that we've been talking about for a few weeks now. I just felt like from the couch, you knew it was going to happen at some point. We had again Texas scoring on the first play. You've got a 3-and-out. You've got a punt block. It's 14-0 real quick. You have a pick. All of a sudden, you're down 28-7. It's 4th and 1 on your own 34, and in comes this big package where Caleb Williams, everybody knows it's going to be a QB run with what could be punting to a really, really hot UT offense and Casey Thompson and this guy Xavier Worthy, which, oh my God. But at that time, Caleb Williams comes in fresh off the sideline, which real quick, just so everybody knows out there, 30 minutes, you had alluded to that a little bit before that you guys went into to watch the warm-ups. These guys are warming up, getting a little bit of sweat on, and then all of a sudden they just nothing. They just sit on the sideline, do nothing. They get cold, they get tight. You were talking about walking somebody, whatever. This guy comes in and on 4th and 1 takes it 66 yards, sparks the entire sideline. The guy's smiling while he does it, just a completely different aroma in terms of his persona, what he exudes as a quarterback, as a player. I always like watching guys, and especially, really how they respond to, the quarterback position, how guys lead other people. Man, when you see that guy come off the sidelines, it was hooping, it was hollering, it was great to see. So, and then 2 possessions later, Spencer has the fumble, and now it's the rest of I don't want to say the rest is history. We don't know yet, but I do think that Caleb Williams has presented a very, very tough predicament for Lincoln Riley and that staff to put together.
Huge decision for him, right?
Right, it has to be.
It's your all-world guy. It's your dude, and I don't know if it's Lincoln Riley having balls or if it was Caleb Williams really showing out in practice, but whatever it was gave not only Lincoln but that whole staff enough confidence to say, hey, it's time to give the ball to number 13, and we're going to ride with him the rest of this football game. Yeah. Now, it was really cool because of the way that they probably went through practice, right? Spencer got most of the reps because he was a starter. Come in cold. Obviously, probably his spirits are down from getting benched, and come in on a very, very important 2-point conversion and throw a dart to Drake Stoops there and get that, right? So
must have a big play.
Really cool. I'm interested to see, what the next move is. I think we're all kind of sitting on the edge of our seat wondering, what happens next.
Well, especially in that stadium too, right? Just because you're hosting TCU. This isn't like an away game.
Yep.
Fans are going to be – they're already probably buying 13 jerseys. The number 13, not just 13 jerseys, but number 13 jerseys. So if you walk out of there and 7 leads the huddle out there, it's going to be interesting.
What's going to be the reaction,
right? That's right.
It's like this old dude named Trevor Knight who gets hurt in the first half against Oklahoma State. Blake Bell comes in and throws a game-winning touchdown pass to beat your in-state rival.
Bedlam, yeah.
Well, who's coming out against the Crimson Tide in the Sugar Bowl? Shouldn't it be Blake Bell? He's through the game-winning touchdown pass. Played great. I think Trevor Knight was passing for like 30% that morning.
It's a little
before he got hurt.
Different situation, and I think we all know what happened in the Alabama game.
Yeah, obviously, but very different situation, but also kind of the same, right? Everybody's excited to see the movement moving forward. Now, I will say this, and you probably will back me up here, from a guy that has played this position, it will be if they decide to go with Caleb Williams, it won't be all rainbows and butterflies and anything.
No, it's not.
He is a freshman. He's going to make freshman mistakes. He has unbelievable talent, but it's not going to be like, oh, we're going to ride off into the sunset, right? I mean, it is still week in and week out. We got to coach this guy up to play at the level that we want him to be at, right?
I agree, and this is what's interesting, right? So there was 11 carries in the first half. Just take that for what it is. There was 11 carries in the first half. There were 21 carries in the second half. That's interesting to me.
Speaking of halves, I'm just going to make this, and I want to hear the rest of your thoughts. But
no, you don't.
Yeah, I do. First half, Oklahoma 20 points, Texas 38 points.
Mm-hmm.
Second half, Oklahoma 35 points, Texas 10 points. I mean,
on 9 drives.
Completely different. So let me hear your thoughts again.
9 drives. No, it's great. And I love that because, again, when you look at what he put together, there was only 2 punts out of 9 drives. That is moving the football. Mm-hmm. Couple of those off-platform throws where he's like, you can call it, just throwing it up, being a freshman, but at the same time, you're giving your guys a chance to make a play.
No doubt.
And it's just a different world. So, real quick, I don't know. I don't want to. There's a special guest that we have that I'd love to continue talking about this. Just real quick, because it's a Big 12 podcast. West Virginia, Baylor 45-20. This is not to take anything away from the guys down in Waco, because what they did was just absolutely throttle what was a pretty damn good West Virginia team that beat, even Virginia Tech coming in. TCU at Texas Tech. TCU slapped them around 52-31, put up damn near 400 yards on the ground. Sorry, Garrett. But I can't wait. I can't wait any longer. Trevor brought in just an incredible guest, and I'm so excited that I want to stay on this OU Texas, and who better than just an OU legend?
Legend. I mean, a guy that is from generation to generation, the folklore of college football for in the 80s for sure. But I mean, I know about him, right? And I've had the opportunity to be around him. He's had a really big impact on my life in the terms of just paving the path for Oklahoma football players to come into a place that is storied, that is special, that has the ultimate history of being a winning football program. Yeah. And this guy did it at a high level with some moxie as well.
Without further ado,
ladies and gentlemen, our guest for the week. I am so excited to be joined by none other than Oklahoma legend, consensus All-American when he was there, a 2-time Butt-Kiss Award winner, only guy to actually win that award twice.
Yes.
From the hairstyles back in college, he's known for his thundering blows, his acting career, was drafted in the first round by the Seattle Seahawks. Mr. Brian Bosworth. The Boz, thank you for joining us. How are we today, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me on the show, guys.
Absolutely. So we'll jump right into it. Huge weekend in college football, but specifically in the Cotton Bowl. OU Texas, a game you're very familiar with. Give us your thoughts. Was that one of the best football games that you've ever been a part of or watched in your entire life?
Well, it didn't start out that way. I'm going to tell you that right now. Being down, I mean, and that's the thing about these rivalry games. I mean, you can get a bang punch on your opponent real quick, and that's what Texas did in that first play offensively. And then the block punt, and then huge momentum, just a wave of momentum. And I think we got really fortunate on that call, on the third down call, with the pass that Spencer threw down the sideline and got us in the position that we could make it a 14-7 game, get a little momentum back. But, Texas then came back down the field, answered that call. It's typical when you get this rivalry game and one team gets the momentum and kind of holds it for the first half. The trick is coming out of the second half and being able to regain the momentum that you had and then finish the opponent. And that's super hard to do when you got a rivalry game, a lot of pride on the line. When you change a quarterback and you see a quarterback struggling that Spencer has been struggling for the first 5-6 games, first 5.5 games. He's just not been himself for various different reasons. Offensive line hasn't helped him. Little self-doubt probably creeped in, when the fans there in Oklahoma and the West Virginia game were kind of shouting out Caleb. Caleb's a remarkable, talent. So is Spencer. To have Caleb come in and that one play on a 4th and short, break it for a touchdown, that is a huge avalanche of belief and hope that a bench that's behind in a rivalry game needs to not replace the captain, but just know that we've got hope. And, if you get hope on a sideline and that hope turns to belief, you've got yourself one hell of an opportunity to make great things. And sooner magic generally happens when that kind of scenario, that chemistry comes together. And man, what a fantastic second half, fourth quarter, both teams slugging it out, never ever quit. I love the heart and the Longhorns with Bijan Robinson answering the call when it got down, there at the end. And it's just amazing game. I was just so proud of the boys for not quitting. And both teams very evenly matched. I mean, you just across the board skill sets, on both sides of the ball, offensive line, defensive line, they were just very evenly matched. And there's a good chance we're going to see them again at the end of the season.
That's right, man. That's an incredible analysis right there.
I loved it.
Talking about hope and really just creating that on the sideline, right? I mean, that is the ticket to winning football games.
Well, and I think it's interesting too. And if we can, I know we just kind of mentioned a few questions we were asking, but I love that your analysis on that and hope turning into belief. As QBs, we always see it on the offensive side. I'd love to just hear, from your experience on the defensive side, what that hope and belief does to those 11 guys on defense when you finally get that stop, you got to, again, some momentum on offense. What does that charge do for you guys on defense?
Well, on defense, we're the crushers of hope. We exterminate hope.
I love it.
When you have hope running around in your kitchen, you call the defense and we come in, we stomp it out. And neither offense or neither defense really got hold of the game. The Sooners at the end, they were able to contain Bijan for the most part in the second half. There's a couple of really big runs that he pulled off, but I think that the key of it was that the defensive line was able to get some pressure on the Texas Longhorn quarterback, and being able to rattle him a little bit and not give them the time to let those routes develop downfield. And for some reason, he never really, because he's an athletic kid. He takes after his daddy. And he stayed in the pocket. He was very disciplined. There was a couple of moments that he could have jumped out of the pocket and maybe made a big play, but he's well coached and he was very disciplined, and he wanted to stay in the pocket and do the best thing he could for his team. And he just came up a little bit short. And I just got to take my hats off to the defensive line and the linebackers. They just kind of shored it up there in the second half, and they had enough in the tank to finish it. And what a great finish for Lincoln to just believe in enough to throw that little trick play, that razzle dazzle that they scored on earlier to tie it, to go ahead and use the same play because they couldn't stop it to win it. I mean, just drama. I mean, just dripped with drama. The best OU Texas game in decades.
Agreed.
Oh,
Now,
man,
switching gears a little bit, speaking of a little razzle-dazzle, all right, Paul Crew and the Mean Machine in the Longest Yard came out with a little razzle-dazzle against the yard, right, against the guards, right? So if you don't mind, give our fans and our listeners a little insight to what it was like working with Adam Sandler, being on the set of The Longest Yard. I mean, obviously going from playing football in real life to making a movie with football as kind of the centerpiece. Your acting career, what has that been like, and what specifically with The Longest Yard? What kind of experience was that?
It was an amazing experience. I mean, The Longest Yard for me when I was a kid growing up watching Burt Reynolds in the original was one of my all-time favorite movies. So when the remake came up, I begged and pleaded and crawled into the director's office and read to be part of this. And at first he was going to play me at quarterback, and I'm going, that doesn't make any sense. And he goes, I'm just trying to protect you because I understand you've had both your shoulders replaced. I'm going, yeah. And you've had other surgeries? Yeah. I just want to protect you. I mean, we want you in the movie, but we're gonna hit. And I said, I'm ready, dude. You know how bent up I am to put a hat back on and get back out there. It was just, being able to, first of all, Adam, amazing actor, amazing human being. His entourage, he recycles the same guys all the time because they're good and they get along. It's a family. He brought so much comedy to the script. Burt was fantastic. I got a chance to spend a lot of time with Burt. Burt was important in so many regards in my life at that point in time, where things just happened to just meld together. We don't have enough time to get into that. Could be another show. But the day that we shot that scene at the end, where Burt scores the touchdown, allegedly 50, whatever you call it, I had to get there early to do the stunt, and we had a stunt double that came out and did it. And because Burt could not really run, he was a 78-year-old guy at the time. Battling arthritis. He had a huge heart, but his body was failing on him. But when we shot that scene, it took us 4 or 5 takes to get the helicopter shot where he lands right on the, is he in, is he out, whatever. And then it was like, whew, done. Lunch, break away, take the stuff off, come back after lunch to pick up the first part of the scene. Bert's coming out of his trailer. He's all super excited. I can't wait to do this scene. And I'm going, well, you actually already did the scene, Bert. It's an amazing shot. And he went ballistic. he was going, what are you talking about? I said, no, we shot the stunt part. All they need you to do is pick the ball up and just kind of run. He's going, that's not going to work. I am the longest run. There weren't make this movie if it wasn't for me.
I love it.
So he's like over there talking to Adam and Peter, the director, and Jack Caraputo, the producer. And I'm standing in front of Bert, and all the producers and Adam, they're all standing behind Bert, and the stunt coordinator is telling me, Bert, we got a great, you can come over at this, on the monitor, you'll see it. I mean, it's an amazing shot. I mean, I don't think we need to do it. And he was adamant. We're going to do the shot again. So I had to put it all back together. And sure enough, the first time the stunt coordinator came over to me, said, you cannot hit him. You realize that? Of course. I'm not going to hit him. So, we did the first take, and I kind of, shuffled out, and he comes around, and then I hit him, and, and he gets up and he goes, what was that? And I said, well, no, I wasn't sure how hard I can hit you. And he goes, and it happened to be the OU Texas weekend. And he goes, I want you to imagine that I'm wearing a Longhorn helmet, and you're wearing a Sooner helmet, and we're on the goal line, and you got to stop me. And I look over at the stunt coordinator, and I go, what do you want me to do? And he goes, hit him, but don't kill him. And I got up underneath him. I hit him. It was remarkably very much like the shot that we ended up using, the original shot with the stunt coordinator, the stunt man. And, my theory on old people is when they get old, they shrink, but their body mass doubles. So he landed on my chest and sternum, knocked the air completely out of me. I'm gasping for oxygen, and Adam and the crew, they'd already predetermined that they didn't want this to go on any further, so they ran over to him after the play was over, picked him up, carried him off the field in this big celebration. I'm sucking wind, can't catch my breath. Nobody cares about me. I'm on the ground. Next thing I know, I get the very next day, he comes over to the trailer. He's got a little snapshot Polaroid, and his assistant goes, Bert was on cloud 9 the entire night. He was just raving about Boz hit me with a great game, da-da-da. And he goes, he wants to invite you to a Florida State Virginia game this Saturday. And I'm going, well, I'm actually working this Saturday. We're shooting some other stuff. He goes, no, you're not. He's got you off. You're covered. Okay.
No way.
Yes, sir.
Longer shot. So we fly to the Florida State Virginia game in Tallahassee, and the dude's a god. I mean, we're sitting in Bobby Bowden's office, at the end, and we walk out, and he's standing there on the balcony, and they're all just cheering him. It was just an amazing experience. And at the end of the day, it was just a great to be part of that classic movie. Now, I did get 3 surgeries out of it. That was my Oscar. I got 3 surgeries. But it was worth it. I enjoyed it very much.
Wow. Amazing. So moving away a little bit from the personal side of things, back into the Big 12, right? We've got specifically Oklahoma. Is there a quarterback change? Is Spencer going to be the guy? Is Caleb going to be the guy? We won't ask you that, but what does Oklahoma specifically have to do throughout the rest of the season to not only surround that quarterback position, but come together in the locker room to have a successful end of the year and potentially go for number 7 Big 12 title in a row?
Ironically, we had that same situation back in '85 when Troy Aikman started the season as a starter, and he was very successful. We were playing against Miami of Florida, and we were going to win that game, and he breaks his leg halfway through the second quarter, and everybody thought, oh, there goes the season. Jamel Holloway steps in. And I mean, he was a freshman, and they couldn't run the same offense with Jamel that they ran with Troy. So they went back to the wishbone. And really what you saw was the difference between us scoring successfully 20, 25 points a game, 30 points a game with Troy. Suddenly we're scoring 50 points a game with Jamel because of just how dynamic he was running the wishbone. The difference between what you have with Caleb and Spencer is very similar. Caleb's very dynamic. He brings another element to the quarterback position. But really what you have is lightning in a bottle, given the atmosphere in which he came in the Texas OU game. First time he touches the ball, 4th and short, goes for a touchdown, rallies the guys, ends up winning the game. Now you have a predicament between what the coaches have to do in balancing the loyalty of the players that love Spencer and those that are really pulling for Caleb. Chemistry is the most important thing in a successful football season. And right now, Caleb has got a tremendous amount of chemistry. Both are super talented. It's a blessing to have a Caleb and a Spencer as a 1-2 quarterback situation in your season, because inevitably one could go down and you want to have somebody with experience. What you want to do is you really want to cultivate both of them, because both of them are super talented. And this is going to be key for the coaches, that they maintain a "I believe in you" campaign in both quarterbacks, both athletes, because they both have proven that they're winners. And they need to let the players understand that just because one player comes in and might spark a comeback, that doesn't mean that we're going to turn our back on the other guy, because you never want to do that, because then doubt creeps in and the shadows come in, and there's just you want everybody to buy in and believe that no matter who's on the field, we're all going to do our jobs, to do our very best to get the win. And I think the coaches have their work cut out for them a little bit, but the fact that Spencer's already had success and Caleb has got so much talent and so much promise, I don't think that there's going to be an issue. I certainly hope that they continue to play them both, because they're both amazing weapons. And to sit one on the bench just simply because of one game, and really not even a game, it's really a half of success with Caleb in the OU Texas game, doesn't diminish what Spencer has done during the time he's been there. If anything, this is going to make Spencer hungrier. And I hope that I see him work harder to prove that he is the guy. And if you can have two guys that think they're the guy, you got yourself a pretty good combination at quarterback. And that's really what dictates the wins and losses in college football right now.
Yeah. That's great. That's great.
That'll preach.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first from a guy that has been there, that has done that at the highest of level, an all-time legend, and somebody that I'm so thankful to have followed up in their footsteps at the University of Oklahoma. Brian, you led the way for guys like me to have the experience that I had, and I can't thank you enough for that. Also can't thank you enough for just the influence that you've had on my life in the few amount of times that we've been together. It's always a pleasure, and look forward to seeing you again at an OU game or somewhere here in the near future. Thanks for having.
Hey, I'm going to the A&M. I'm going to the A&M Auburn game here in the next. I think it's November 6th. So, yeah, I
is that an invite? Is that the Burt Reynolds?
Is
that the Burt Reynolds? Is that the Burt Reynolds invite right there?
There it is. I may have to meet up with you.
I love it.
That's awesome.
If you guys need an Uber driver, let me know. Uber Bryce.
You can Uber us around. There you go. Hey, Brian, thank you so much for being on, and we look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks.
All the best, guys.
All right. See you.
Thanks, buddy. Oh, that's epic. You just got an invite from the Boz.
The Boz, man. We're gonna hang out and watch the Aggies beat up on the War Eagles, the Tigers of Auburn. Man, what great insight from Mr. Brian Bosworth, one of college football's all-time best, and just from my experience around him, an incredible, incredible human being, a guy that's been through the thick of it, that's been through the fire. You got great insight right there, not only on the football side of things, talking about hope and heart and just the culture of coming together and surrounding two guys and being your very best, pushing each other, but also a little fun there with talking about his acting career and Adam Sandler and those guys.
I mean, he's had it, and it's really interesting, and I hope that people understand the influence. To your point, you brought that in, the influence that he's had not only on that program but just in college football. I mean, that guy just kind of oozed that persona that we really, I don't think to that point in college football anybody had, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, Deion Sanders, but he was after him, so Boz, man, it was so cool, and I hope our listeners had as much fun listening to that as we did.
No doubt.
Let's go ahead and go to what's coming down the pipeline this week. We got quite a few games coming back up. We only had about 3 this past week, but looking ahead, and Garrett, if we could go ahead and pull up some of these games we got going on. So. Oklahoma State at Texas, which is interesting. Oklahoma State basically had a day to watch Texas in that epic game, coming in at number 12 in the country. Texas falling to number 25, but they got Texas favored at 5 with an over-under at 60.5 points. What you got right there?
This is a huge game. This is an absolutely huge game. What we saw last week, again, I'll reiterate it, and we've touched on it multiple times now. Casey Thompson is that guy in Texas, in Austin, right?
Yep.
He's going to come out, and he's going to lead that football team to a lot of wins. I think that from what I saw on Saturday, and even prior to that, he's now – showed me that he can lead that team, and it's probably going to be OU Texas back at Jerry World for the Big 12 title game in December, right? That being said, Oklahoma State, sneaky mullet. We've talked about it all year.
Very sneaky
undefeated ball club going on the road to Austin. This is going to be a barn burner. I think that's a really good line at -5. I think that it's really going to be dependent on how Sark relays the message in Austin this week, coming off just a heartbreaking loss in a huge rivalry game. I think he'll get those guys going. I love Sark. I love what he's doing there from a cultural standpoint, and I think that Texas wins by 7 points.
Wow. Okay. Very interesting. I'm actually going the other way, buddy. I think that their front 7, talking about UT right now, is in just disarray. I think if Sark goes to the locker room and talks about the game plan, the dude needs to have a separate meeting with the front 7 of Texas. This is the University of Texas, and they are getting their butts whipped. 217 yards on the ground. To Kennedy Brooks, who's a mauler, but still at the same time, I mean, he's not getting touched till 3-4 yards down the field, and you can't just rely on, Sark and this charisma on offense with Bijan and now what we're seeing with Casey Thompson. So I actually think that Oklahoma State's going to win by 2 touchdowns. I think it's going to be not a blowout, but I think that Oklahoma State pulls away based on Jalen Warren in that backfield for Oklahoma State.
This is the first time that I just don't completely disagree with you. I mean, that's good analysis, Bryce. I mean, that's really good, man.
Thanks, brother.
I think you can't go wrong in this game. Is really my point. But I do think that's really good analysis.
Yeah. Thank you. Again, but before we go on to the next one, it's still Spencer Sanders, and we have a Jekyll and Hyde situation. 11 a.m. at DK Royal. Is he ready for that big game? So moving on, Garrett, what do we got next here? We got BYU at Baylor. BYU did fall number 19, but this is kind of a precursor into the Big 12. As we all know, BYU has been accepted into the Big 12, which is going to be a very interesting conversation. I think when all that stuff does kind of unravel, and we've got Cincinnati and UCF and BYU coming in, but all the while we got Baylor favored at 6. Points with the over-under at 49, and Baylor right now is rolling. What say you to the boys down in the green and gold in Waco?
The Bears. Bears. Bryce, I'm going to say it. I've talked about it for a while. Dave Aranda is legit.
Yes, sir.
Dave Aranda's got these guys ready to play. Gary Bohannon is, if he's a game manager, that's fine. But good grief, 336 yards, 4 touchdowns, no turnovers this past week. And then Tyquan Thornton, look at this stat line.
Dude.
8 receptions, 187 yards, and 2 touchdowns. They've got some juice going on down there in Waco.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
But to your point, I know it's not the marquee matchup, right? But you've got 2 schools that are chomping at the bit because they're going to start facing each other year in and year out. That's got to give you a little extra push coming into this week to kind of assert your dominance prior to the the joining of in marriage in a new conference, right?
Yep, I agree. This one's interesting to me, and we'll start with Baylor real quick, just for fun. But I think what Aranda has going on in Waco is a completely bought-in locker room, and what I mean by that is these guys are fired up to put on pads and go play, go show their stuff, and I think that that's a beautiful thing moving forward in Waco, especially coming out of everything they've been through. COVID last year, not really having a season or really a spring and a fall to understand what Aranda brings. Look, Gary Bohannon is progressing. Shout out to Coach Sean Bell, who's the QB coach that is developing. We do not hear that enough in this world in college football, but he has developed, I think, week in and week out and really year in and year out, Gary Bohannon into a really, really, really impressive quarterback. Again, me being the couch quarterback here, watching him move in the pocket, stepping up, knows when to put a little bit of touch on throws, knows when to fire it in there, and he's taking care of the football, exactly what you said, which is a beautiful thing in this QB position.
So who you taking, the Bears?
I am. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting there. I'm going to take the Bears. I'm actually going to go I'm going to go 17 points. I think it's going to be a blowout. I think they're going to freaking roll them.
Yep, and I'll take the over here, 49. Not enough points in this one. Hey, before we get into the next one, let me just pause for just a quick second and tell you guys about our partners over at Bet River Sportsbook. You mind if I do that real quick, Bryce?
Yes, please.
These are the guys that we've been rolling with all year long. If you haven't signed up with Bet Rivers yet, now is the time. They are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. What sets them apart is that they require just one play, and you can turn your bonus into cash money. That is real, cold, hard cash. Their new Rush Pay is instant approval. Withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. Yes. With football season right in the thick of things, get in the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading BetRivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800, as you said, gambler, but it's ER, gambler. Yep. All right, moving on. Next game, Bryce, who do we got here?
We got Garrett. Okay, so we got Texas Tech at Kansas. Naturally, whoever's playing Kansas is favored. So we got Texas Tech minus 16.5 with the over-under set at 67. Very interesting after Texas Tech got their butts kicked. Sorry, Garrett, again. What you got here, buddy?
I'm taking Texas Tech in this one for sure, money line, obviously, but minus 16.5. I'm gonna give him that. I'm gonna give him that as well. Texas Tech has a fire-filled offense. Mm-hmm. A lot of firepower is a better way to say it.
Okay.
I know they're rolling with their backup in Mr. Henry, but man,
Clipboard Jesus.
Yep, he has a great flow, but. Kansas, rough, and continuing to be rough. I'm going with Texas Tech in this one. Bryce, who you got?
67 points. What do you think? Over, under?
I'm going to go with the under because I don't think Kansas is going to score a lot of points.
Not so fast. So fast. This is interesting.
Is this our bet of the week?
I'm actually
shotgun on it. Put a shotgun on it.
We're going to the bet of the week. Sorry, Garrett. Texas Tech just damn near let up 400 yards on the ground to TCU. Now, I know that they're better, but Kansas has always had a run game. They just can't punch it in.
All right.
So I
over
I
under
think,
67. That's our bet for the week.
I'm gonna take the under on that.
Well, that's what
I'm gonna take the under. No. I'm taking the money line. You don't want to take the money line bet?
No. Absolutely
not fair.
No, moving on then.
Okay.
That's not our bet for the week. All right, so we agree on that one. Next, we are going TCU at Oklahoma. Ooh. Obviously, we have touched on it a ton. Oklahoma coming off a big win, undefeated, but there are a lot of questions in that QB room.
A lot of questions.
Throw Spencer out there, throw Caleb out there. I think the team rallies. TCU obviously has some juice. But they're marginal at best for a TCU team, right? Yep. For a Gary Patterson coach team of the last 20 years, they are middle of the pack at best. I'm giving OU this one for sure with the minus 12.5, and I'm going over on the 66 points.
Yeah, very, very nice. I think the over is you can't go wrong. I would double down on the over there. Not going to be much defense played on this game. I actually am as well. If they go 7 or 13. Doesn't really matter. I think that OU is just a better team, and they've got a little spark, little juice after this Cotton Bowl. game, so I'm rolling with it. Do you think that, real quick, I know you were at the game, did you happen to see that Gary Patterson has an acoustic guitar, plays it, sings? I don't know if he wrote a song.
I can't imagine that gruff, always lost voice
if
produces
we had
any
the
good
ability
music.
to
But
put a clip in, this is when I would do it. You guys just need to go check that out.
No, that's what it would sound like. It'd be horrible.
It's actually
Really? I need to go listen to it.
He picks it really
That's
well.
bad.
Okay, Iowa State at Kansas State. Iowa State -6.5. Over under set at 51.5. What have you?
Okay, so my two favorite games of this weekend coming up is Iowa State at Kansas State. I think that's a Big Ten-esque ball game, and then Texas at Oklahoma State, Oklahoma State at Texas.
Yeah.
Those are my two favorite games to watch. I am excited to see the situation roll out in Norman. Obviously, always love watching the Sooners, but these are my two games to watch. Iowa State's got a little bit more confidence going than they did at the beginning of the season. Remember, we put them as number 2 in the league. They come out, they're not playing all that well in the first couple games. They get beat by obviously a really good Iowa team, but played them hard. And now we see just kind of the battle of the Midwest here in the Big 12. I am going to go ahead and take Kansas State plus 6.5 in this one. Is this our bet? Is this our bet? And I'm going under 51.5.
This can be our bet. I think Iowa State's good. I mean, Skylar Thompson, I think is he back? Is he healthy? I'm not really sure. I think Iowa State is, to your point. I'm going to give Matt Campbell, Breece Hall, my man Purdy another shot here. And I'm going to go with Iowa State. So this can be our bet. Iowa State. I'm going to take the line.
Iowa State minus 6.5.
Yeah.
All right. For a shotgun.
Okay.
Shake on it.
We can shake. No time limit, please.
No. All right, no time limit. We won't do dinner. We'll just do a shotgun.
And then, I think it is very hard to put up points in Manhattan, so I am going to take the under on that.
All right.
Man, what a hell of a show. We had the Boz on. I mean, that just doesn't get any better. There's not many podcasts, I think, that can say that. Dude's in a muscle tee at Gold's Gym, ready to turn and burn.
Unbelievable. And the cool thing about the Boz is that his heroism, his larger-than-life personality, his legacy goes way past his generation of football.
Yep.
I walk around the Cotton Bowl the other day, and I think there were 2 people that were like, hey, is that a guy that used to – no, he was in the band. He was definitely in the band.
Naturally.
Brian Bosworth is a legend in the 80s, obviously.
Yeah.
In the 90s. In the early 2000s, and still here in the 20s. We live in the roaring 20s.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's awesome.
Brian Bosworth is an all-timer, one of the greatest players to watch of all time. And then if you hadn't seen it, go watch the documentary, Brian and the Boz. Really, really neat insight to his life from college and moving through. I know Brian from a personal standpoint of just being able to do a few things with him. The guy has an unbelievable heart for not only culture, but for people. He is one of the greatest. There was my burp for the week.
Yep.
He was one of the greatest people to sit and just get wisdom from. I mean, the guy's just full of wisdom. So
he's
really
mayor
thankful.
Of Fansville, so
yes, that's right. That's right. I'm so thankful that he was so nice enough to come on and join us today. And hopefully you guys enjoy that as well. Hopefully we didn't let you down with the precursor to who our guest was.
No, I don't think we could.
Yeah,
don't think we could have.
With that being said, let me just tell you guys before we sign off about our partners over at the Field of 12 Media. We are a podcast and digital media network covering college football by the people that know it best. Brought to you by Shoot Your Shot Productions, the folks behind the Field of 68. The Field of 12 gives you insight into the game we all love by the people who have lived it. Bryce and I, once upon a time, used to run the Big 12. I say run the Big 12. You have a couple Big 12 rings. I got a couple Big 12 rings. That means we ran it. You got guys in other conferences as well if you want to join in. And then we've got our Saturday night show, Field of 12 After Dark. Me, Bryce, Christian Hackenberg, George Whitfield, the QB guru. We come on right after the primetime game, and we talk football, immediate reaction. We'd love your response on Twitter, on Instagram. We're going to keep that going. Please hit us up with questions. We want to interact with you guys. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube. We'll post it all over Twitter. And we look forward to continue to talk all things Big 12 as the season goes on. Bryce, anything?
That's a hell of a sign-off. I ain't got nothing. We'll see you guys next week, and as always, thank you for joining us.
Boom.